Hello everyone and welcome back to the GeekWave. This is the low budget show. It's the show so low it has no budget. But surprisingly, even without a budget, we have managed to make it to episode 50 of this show. I'm including the 2 live shows that I've done in that, because the only 2 times I'm probably ever going to go live. Currently, I don't have any plans to do it now, but maybe in the future I will. And yeah, it's great to just say, I made it to 50. It's just a nice feeling to know, I can do this, and I have the audience. It's small for the GeekWave, but it's still my favorite thing to do, and the audio stuff's getting more and more every day. We recently passed 1,000 on the channel, which is great. It's all kind of culminating into a big thing for me. I'm just finally, I've wanted to be a part of this industry in any capacity, and by industry, I mean the entertainment industry. I just think there's so much fun about that, and it's just always something that has piqued my interest. And since I'm not currently in a position where I can do, what I'd love to do, which is writing, novels or screenplays and anything, this is where I'm at. It gives me an opportunity to talk about stuff I like, whether it's talking about my pitches for stuff, what I feel about movies and television, or characters I like, or, my what-if scenarios, or what makes something a classic, like the career of somebody. It's fun. And I like doing my podcast, so the fact that we're on 50 is great. And it makes me really happy. And I'm just really relieved that I could be here. It's just really fun. So I like that. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast and this show. I appreciate it. I guess because it's 50th, I'll give you a couple previews for stuff coming up to the GeekWave itself. We'll be talking Immortal Hulk. We'll be talking Edgar Wright. We'll be talking streaming service. No, we already did streaming services. I meant to say social media apps and platforms. We will be talking Hawkeye. We will be talking, I'm going to say one of the upcoming ones will be a Christmas-themed one, but we'll have to wait and see. On top of all that, we are also going to be putting out this episode early. This is the Halloween episode. Last year we did Universal Monsters. This year we're doing something different. That is what I would do, given the opportunity to make a new horror icon or a horror classic. So I kind of picked a bunch of tropes from horror movies, and I'm going to turn them into, a series or a franchise or a character. It's going to be really fun. And the reason this is coming out before Halloween is because I am planning a big Movie Tales special for Halloween, so look forward to that in the coming days. It should be, I think I'm going to be filming it in the upcoming weekend. It should be out hopefully the Sunday of Halloween or the day right after. I'm hoping it's the day of. We'll have to wait and see. But also before that, we do have a couple pieces of news to get into, so let's take a minute here and get into some of our news topics. So our first piece of news to actually come out was something that I think surprised me and a lot of people. That is the news that after, I think it was, 2013, 2009 maybe? It's been a hot minute since Mel Brooks decided he's going to step out into Hollywood to do whatever. He is going to be producing a limited series on Hulu called History of the World Part 2. He's doing it. Our boy's finally doing it. 95 years old, and he's still I can get out here and play with the kids. I can have fun. I can make a show. I can talk about this thing that I've put aside for a long time. Now, I like The History of the World Part 1. It's a fun movie. Not the best Mel Brooks film, sadly. But there's a lot of good stuff in that, and it's kind of funny. My concern with the Part 2 is it's going to focus on the wrong parts of our modern history. I feel like this could become a pandemic show where it delves into that era in particular and everything in that, when it should be, I would say, a sequel. I think the first movie was the Roman Empire for most of it. Let's jump up to, what's another funny time period that's before the Old West, but post the Roman Empire? I don't know. Pompeii? No, I think they might have done Pompeii already. French Revolution? That could be a fun one. The Renaissance? The Renaissance would be cool, actually. Now I can't remember when they did the last one, but that could be fun. So there's a bunch of other names attached to this, but Mel Brooks at 95 years old has said, nope, it's the time to do it now, which is impressive. I will commend the hell out of Mel Brooks for saying now is the time to take this leap into the future with the history of the world. That's pretty impressive. I think that's amazing, dude. So good on you. Good for doing that. I know at some point we'll be doing the Mel Brooks video. I've talked about it forever. I cannot wait for that. But before we do that, too, there is some more news to talk about. And, of course, I had to bring this up because you guys know I'm the massivest fan of Tom Holland. My favorite actor in the world, Tom Holland. That's sarcasm, by the way. He's a young-looking dude who just gets every chance in the world to play the same character. But how can I complain when he puts butts in seats? So he's doing an Uncharted movie. Nathan Drake and Sully, the crew is there. Tom Holland looks like Tom Holland in a Nathan Drake shirt. Mark Wahlberg looks nothing like Sully. But we got a trailer for this film, and boy howdy does it look like everything else you've seen before in the genre. Like, it does not look good. And I'm not even going to criticize Tom Holland's Nathan Drake. I think casting older would have worked better because you should try to capture that Indiana Jones feel as opposed to the young Indiana Jones feel. Like, I want Nathan Drake to feel tired half the time as opposed to just like young person tired, which I don't know. That's a weird way to put it. But I know Tom Holland's like 25. I just don't buy it. He doesn't feel like a 25-year-old. You know, every time I see him, he's older than I am, but every time I see him, he just feels younger than me, like more energetic and hopeful. So I just, like, I don't believe it. And yeah, like the trailer did nothing to interest me. Like, cool, there's the scene, I think from the third game, where he's climbing up like the plane, like on the crates falling out of the plane. Cool. If you like that, that's great. But what is that really? It's not really anything. It's just kind of like, you know, a stunt that you'd put in here. And yeah, I mean, Mark Wahlberg as Sully is such a weird choice. It just doesn't work and it doesn't look good. But again, they both put butts in seats. Sony literally owns Tom Holland at this point. I think they legally bought him from his parents. So Sony owns Tom Holland and he will be in every single Sony movie till the day he's dead. Which I kid. But don't be surprised if that becomes the case, that Tom Holland was literally just owned by these people. Hey, it could happen. Speaking of things that could happen, we have got an official confirmation. This started off as a rumor, but now it's officially confirmed that Hayden Christensen will be extending his tenure with the character of Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker. We knew he was coming back to do Obi-Wan, but guess what, kids? He's coming back for Ahsoka. Oh, yeah. This is it. I remember watching the Clone Wars movie and it's being like, why is this better than what we saw in live action? And I just was like, that's a relationship I think we need to see on a grander scale. And I love Rebels. I think Rebels was fantastic and they got some great moments from there. I think it's cool. You know, in this timeline, we do see that Darth Vader is dead, so it could be a Force ghost. I'd hope so. I kind of hope it's not flashbacks just because that's lazy. And I don't want to see, you know, Hayden, like, doing shit we saw in the Clone Wars in live action. So, Force Ghost would not surprise me. I could definitely even see a Ewan McGregor cameo. I just threw a pen across the room. I could see that happening. A Ewan McGregor cameo would not surprise me. I'm just excited, man. Anakin's going to be in the Ahsoka show. In 2021, Ahsoka Tano is getting a live-action TV show. Hayden Christensen will be playing Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker in it, and it's going to be connected to a story about Boba Fett, the Mandalorian War, and Luke Skywalker. It's like, this is great. What a time to be a Star Wars fan. Anybody who's like shitting themselves because Disney ruined Star Wars clearly has a really warped version of Star Wars, because this is perfect. This is exactly what we're doing. It's exactly what needed to be done. I think that is fantastic. And speaking of things that are fan-freaking-tastic, it has been, I think, confirmed that Ryan Gosling, the sexiest sex symbol in all of the Drive universe, has been cast as Ken in the Margot Robbie Barbie movie. I mean, when you need to get a dumb blonde bimbo, you get Ryan Gosling. Because if you've seen his character in The Nice Guys, that is the energy you bring to Ken. I love this. I can't even describe how excited I am for this Barbie movie. It might be, and this is a really weird statement, but it might be, I think, the movie I'm the most curious about out of anything in production. Just because I know how things are going to go. Like, I know how Chris Pratt Mario is going to go. I know how Guardians 3 is going to go. I don't know how the hell this Barbie movie is going to go. And that is a really, really, really cool thing to know. Just being like, yes, Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Greta Gerwig, these are great names with great actors and great talent. I have no freaking idea what they're going to do. I have no freaking idea what this movie could explore. I'm just bloody excited to see this thing. And this cast looks great. This whole thing is just amazing. I don't think again, it's just perfect casting, perfect idea. And Barbie is great. I've talked about Barbie extensively on this channel. Surprisingly, it's the longest video I ever recorded was me talking about Barbie. I freaking love this character, and I love this idea, and I cannot wait to see what comes about it. So, Barbie, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And as I am recording this, there is another piece of news that just dropped today, and it is one that is sure to make the audiences happy and everybody in the world just collectively cheer with joy. Everyone's favorite older brother, Brenden Fraser. You know him, you love him, you sing his name, you shout it from the rooftop saying, give him every job ever created in Hollywood ever. Just give it to him because he's fantastic. Brenden Fraser, our favorite lovable goofball, has joined the cast of Batgirl, playing the character Firefly. That's right, folks. Brenden Fraser will officially be pulling double duty in the DC universe as Cliff Steele Robot Man and now as Firefly in the Batgirl movie with Leslie Grace starring. Thank you. I literally think everyone has been collectively waiting for Brenden Fraser to break big again. And I know this movie's coming straight to streaming, but it's Brenden Fraser. That is such a good choice for any role you do. He just fits perfectly. Now, I'm going to hesitate a guess here and say we're going to see some sort of workout regimen for this man. Of course, his body is pretty broken since The Mummy, so I'm not going to expect him to be getting into perfect shape. I will say I do think he's going to hit the gym. He's going to get his body back into the thing we know before. And I'm not body shaming him at all. I understand his circumstances. And, I'm not a slim guy either. I just know there's going to be certain expectations put on him for this role. And I hope he doesn't hurt himself in the process to join a big action franchise again. Because the thing with playing Cliff is that he doesn't really need to extrude a lot of energy. He does the voice for the most part. And then the rare scenes that he is the physical body and manifestation of Cliff, it works that he looks the way that he does. And I think that's good. But I also know this is a character who's going to be flying around with wings. It also makes me think, are we pulling a Spider-Man Homecoming with this, where it's going to be like this guy steals tech from another villain, maybe some Wayne tech, and now he's using it to attack, Batgirl? Could happen. But either way, who knows? I'm just excited to see him back. So this movie just literally jumped up in my excitement a little bit more than usual. So that's great, man. Give me Firefly, give me Brenden Fraser, give me Leslie Grace. Just give me a good Batgirl movie. Sounds like we're going to get one. So that's all the news we have. When we come back from this break, we are going to jump into the world of my pitches for the next horror icon. So, like I said at the beginning of this, we're delving into my creations for horror icons in the genre of horror, in the world of horror. A new franchise, a new character, a new idea. Yeah, we're doing it. Also, let me stipulate this. If any of you Hollywood execs out there are listening to this for some god-awful reason, you stumbled across this podcast, you saw the title, you're like, oh, maybe this just random white dude has some ideas for the next horror character. I do. You can use any of my ideas. I give you the free range to use them, but I want a credit for story or creation or as the writer. You can hire me as the writer if you want to make any of these things. Like, I actually got one I really like and I want to do it. Like, if I was given like the opportunity just to create anything for a cheap budget, and they're like, hey, you're working with what's Blumhouse or A24. Here you go, make a thing. There's one on here I'd make it. I might save that one till the end. So my basis for this became, I'm going to take tropes that we see in the genre, and I'm going to build a story or a character around that. Now, these are not in any detail. I do a fake, just random titles for all of them. They're in no particular order of importance or anything. They're just like, hey, here are some common themes that we see a lot in the genre. Alien stories, slasher flicks, monster flicks, ghost stories, demonic possession, inanimate objects, mythical creatures, a group of like gremlin-like creatures, the small little monsters, and an animal that turns evil. Those are the genres I picked. I have 10 choices. I know I listed 9 things there, but I have 2 picks for the slasher one. So I think we're going to start with my pick for the animal category, because this one came about to me really easily. The working title for this film is Sonar. And Sonar is the story that I got from inspiration because it's something that's been on my mind ever since I watched this episode of The Simpsons. Do you remember that Treehouse of Horror where the dolphins take over the Earth? Well, I remember it vividly, and I remember it having a great impact on my mind because I started to realize if dolphins were smart enough to walk on land, they would kill us all. Now, they're friendly creatures, but you know what? They could turn at a moment's notice. They're animals, and who knows? So, my movie is called Sonar. The basic pitch for Sonar is that there's these group of dolphins that is being experimented on by some random evil corporation, is just basically trying to mutate the dolphin, like, DNA to become a more militaristic weapon. Basically, can we make dolphin an asset for the military? It's stupid, but the genre allows itself to be silly. So while we are doing this, suddenly one of these dolphins gains a little bit smarter sentience than the rest of them, and basically it leads to like just freeing all these dolphins that are trapped in captivity, learning to create a contraption that allows the creatures to walk on land, and leads to a dolphin uprising. Now, it's silly and funny because The Simpsons did it, of course, but hey, Planet of the Apes worked. We have how many Planet of the Apes films? Why can't we do a Planet of the Dolphin things? You know, just turn these beautiful creatures that we swim with and we play with, make them into these monsters, show the evil inside these creatures, just like you have tortured and broken my people. We were peaceful. We were fine just swimming in the oceans, but you polluted it. You destroyed it. We are strong enough together to take you all down. You could even have them, just being the superior creatures of the sea, and suddenly they can turn the other sea creatures against the people. That's something to explore. I just think you're doing an animal. We've seen wolves and bears and dogs and cats and lizards and crocodiles, any type of reptile you've seen. Let's do something different. Let's take a dolphin, a creature that could easily not harm us, until we destroy their mind and psyche to the point where they create an invention that allows them to breathe on land and transport across the land to the point where they can kill us and attack us in their will. It's Planet of the Apes. It's Rise of the Planet of the Apes with dolphins. But as a gritty, violent movie where there's people dying, blood is squirting out of the blowholes because they're eating people so much, it's just a grotesque, disgusting film with dolphins killing people, destroying them. Every different type of dolphin just attacks people. They jump out of the waters onto cruise ships, start eating people. Just this disgusting display of monsters killing and destroying. I think that's awesome. Oh, wouldn't that be fun? Just take the script for that Simpsons episode and just make it live action, because that'd be sick. That would be sick. I just love dolphins, and I think Let's ruin them for everybody. Let's do to dolphins what Jaws did to sharks. Bring fear and hate towards the creature, when in actuality, people like them. So that is, of course, Sonar. And with Sonar, we jump over to the land of Rockslide. Now, Rockslide is my pitch for my little disturbing creature thing. I was thinking like a gremlins, a critters, that kind of a thing where it's just like this little creature that runs around and does some weird stuff. Now, doing this, I didn't really come up with a name for the creature. I decided I'm going to call them Rock Sliders until we get a better title for it. Basically, this movie is set in the Old West. We're in some random desert. Let's just say it's the Arizona desert somewhere. It's a Tombstone-like situation. And, you know, this small town is just suddenly being destroyed and just being attacked, kind of Tremors style, but not that like big of a creature, by these random burrowing creatures that just come out of nowhere called Rock Sliders. Now, Rock Sliders are these creatures that are half armadillo and they're half scorpion. So they can curl up into a ball that they can use to dig through like actual like rocks and sand and everything. They could come out of any surface, like by turning into the ball version of themselves and rolling their way through any substance. They can burst through walls and any type of rock formation. They're these disturbing little creatures that have like pincers, but like the face of an armadillo almost in a sense, and like a really sharp tail. They can like curl up their claws into like a ball and roll through it, everything. And basically, it's up to the sheriff of this here town to take out these Rock Sliders. And that's pretty much all I got. I was just like, I want to do a horror movie. What are the things I focused on when coming up with these ideas? Was I want to do these in different time periods. Horror today has kind of lost part of its flavor because it traps itself in being a modern storytelling. So when you look at some of like the more interesting horror stuff like It, Stranger Things, Fear Street, it goes back into different time periods, but it's always like, you know, those flashy neon light time periods. I was like, let's go to the Old West. We don't have the technology or like the manpower. We have to find a way to kill these Rock Sliders before they come in and kill us. And I wish I thought of these ideas earlier because I would have had some fake posters made up for everything. But I love the idea of like these little rock slider creatures just showing up, attacking people, killing them. And the sheriff just got like his old revolver gun trying to shoot his way through these things. Just a bunch of small, disgusting creatures terrorizing a town. You could give them like a weird laugh, you know, kind of like a hee gremlin kind of thing. I didn't make them that animated, but you could do that animated if you want to, where that maybe they walk on like, okay, here we go. They walk on like scorpion-like legs, but they have like the head of an armadillo, and their pincers are kind of just like both operate as like paw or claw kind of things, and the pincers. But that could be fun to see. If anybody wants to make fan art for this, please let me know. If any of these, please, if you want to make a fake poster for this, please do, because I would love that. I would even commission one if you were an artist and you're like, hey, would you like a poster for one of these ideas? I'd be like, yeah, I'll pay for that. I would, of course. So that's my little creature things. I think we're going to jump over to my first pick for the slasher. Now, my favorite one is the other slasher one that I came up with, which I'm going to save for the end of this. So we'll talk about my second choice for the slasher first. And this is a movie I called The Million Year Kill. Now, like I said, I wanted to take the horror genre to places unseen before. I wanted to go to different areas and different explorative time periods. So this, I don't know if it's the first horror movie, or the first slasher flick, I should say, set in the prehistoric era, but it might be. So The Million Year Kill. The basic premise for this: a Neanderthal wanders into some area one day. He finds this weird thing just sitting there. It could be an homage to the monolith. I wouldn't go that far. I would just say maybe this Neanderthal just sees something out of the ordinary, like the first effects of evolution, and this sets them on a course to, and I love this idea. This sets it on the course to see the actual trajectory of humanity. So it's like, oh, look at us go. We are literally going to build empires and destroy ourselves. Constant battle, constant agony. We're going to have class war and all this stuff. Maybe not that extreme, but just like seeing this Neanderthal sees the broader picture of humanity. And they're like, this is intense and insane and brutal and dark. So basically, as they see evolution playing out before them, maybe a fish walks onto land or something, they're like, I'm going to stop evolution in its tracks. I'm going to stop the trajectory of the human race in its tracks by killing the only tribe of humans left alive. I freaking love this idea. I really just think like this is fun. It's insane. It's like we can kind of do like the more silent type film because we maybe don't have like as smart of dialogue as we do. It could be more primitive where these people are just on the cusp of learning a language, and suddenly this creature who started off like to be one of them, this Neanderthal that was one of them, builds himself up to be the smartest thing in the world, and now suddenly, just suddenly, this creature, this person is killing them because they're like, if we continue, we are going to destroy ourselves. So if we destroy ourselves now, think of what could grow from this world, what could evolve from there. You want to make it even darker? You could say that fish coming out of the water that this Neanderthal witnesses resets the track, and it's just kind of like an endless cycle of watching things reproduce this evolutionary track. I love this idea because it's like, what weapons would you use in the prehistoric era to kill someone? Maybe like a big bone from a dinosaur. Maybe there's like a big club or like fire would come into play, just rocks. This brutal, primitive force just beating the shit out of people. I think that would be incredibly cool and wicked to see. And it's just like all these slasher flicks are just like, you know, people in costumes killing the final girl and just like screaming and all this. What if it was just brutal grunting, just like pounding on these people's bodies, just like, this is how we stop, this is how we win. I am saving us millions of years of heartache. This is the 1,000,000-year kill. I think that'd be sick. I love that idea. I think it's very fun. So going from there, we move over to another one. This is one that I have actually thought about turning into a comic book numerous times. This is for the mythical creatures portion. Now this one, I was like, I want to put this category in. I could have left it out, but I think this week coming up is the release of Antlers, which is the new Guillermo del Toro produced thing dealing with the Wendigo. And I was like, I should do something with that. So I did my Cryptozoa creatures video a couple months back. There's one creature in particular I adore, and that, of course, is the Mothman. So my story is called Scarlet Eyes, and basically, the rest of the ones I've talked about so far are kind of just like creatures attacking you. This one is more of like a philosophical look on this destructive creature. So part of the lore of the Mothman, if you could call it lore, is that when this character arrives or this creature arrives to a certain location, those things end in destruction. If you track every supposed Mothman sighting from this bridge in China to the bridge in, where was it, Nebraska or North Dakota or somewhere in the States where they killed like 47 people, you could even do the thing that maybe Mothman was in Chernobyl. Every time this creature interacts with the serious events and sees the world, that suddenly that plays engine tragedy. The dam breaks, the bridge breaks, Chernobyl goes off. And I think if we looked at that from the perspective of the Mothman, if we were to take that story, we follow this creature who has sentience and thought and these ideas in their head, and they're dealing with this idea that, do I bring destruction wherever I go? I try to interact with this world. I know I am different than it, but it's still a world I wish to be a part of. But every time I am here, every time I go to this world, all I seem to do is bring destruction and sorrow. So how do I become a part of this world if they will never accept me? And every time I become intrinsically connected to this world, there is loss, there is death. It's weird, and it's not something that you'd be like, oh, this is something I have to go rush out to see, like a horror, like a movie about the Mothman dealing with his trauma of killing people. But think of the fun you could have. You can make this a really twisted, dark, disturbing thing. Maybe the creature wants to kill, and it's like, I have to do this because it's the only thing I know. I am this being of destruction. You could give a more human element to it, maybe show the lives of the people leading up to the events of these tragedies and how that interacts with everything. But I just think there's so much interesting stuff with this character and this creature that I would just love the opportunity to literally turn that into something. Like I said, this exact idea I've had was a comic book idea I was proposing to a publisher, or not even a publisher, just a guy who wanted to start something up, but we never really got around to it. I love this idea. And this is one of those ones that I've always held on to. And when I put stuff like this out into like the wild, where I'm just like, anybody can take that now, I worry, but I'm just like, even if I don't make it, it's out there. You know, like the idea to do something that interesting, philosophical, what is life, what is death, what is meaning with a creature like the Mothman, I think that's cool. And if I can be the voice that puts that in the direction of the consensus or the public, that's fun. That gives me hope. That gives me excitement. That could be something cool to play with. And I just like that idea immensely. So I'm glad it's out there. And jumping away from the mythical creature, we go to the inanimate object. This is the thing that isn't real, but it kills people. And again, I really like this one. I say it every time. I think I'm a natural-born storyteller. I do. Now, if only I could get something freaking published. But so this one I'm calling Six String. Now, the idea is, I know I say inanimate object, but my idea in here is this is a cursed guitar. You could say the spirit of this old musician that was kind of burned or hurt by these people before him for what he did. Maybe his music was just too satanic or brought this different vibe to it. Maybe the sounds that this musician played called forward the devil and lured these different people into this place. Either way, this guitar has now become possessed / cursed / haunted by this person. And now every time that this guitar is played, it brings the death of that person who played it. And because it's this modern age, this is one of the ones I have that's set in the modern age. Because of that, suddenly there's a lore behind it. There's a world of ideas behind it. And, you know, people are thinking about this guitar online. They're just like, somebody has this. When it's uncovered and played on stage, and then the guitarist dies the next day, the lore is explored again. People just keep seeing this guitar, and they're just like, how can this thing be killing all these people? It just plays this beautiful tune, but that tune also spells the end of the person playing it. It could be just like, you know, you play it till your fingers bleed, and that just like poisons you and it kills you because you can't let go of this guitar, and you just keep going and going until your fingers literally come off and there's nothing left but bone playing this guitar, and it could turn you into like the skeletal being because of the way it's possessing you. You continue playing it and then you just die. Or it could just be like, yeah, you play it, then you walk off a cliff or something stupid, but this guitar just spells the end of you. It just brings forth your own demise. And I think that is fun. That is a little bit different. It kind of throws this new idea that you don't normally see into the horror genre, you know, Rocky Horror, Sweeney Todd. Well, now I say it, there's probably a lot of choices you could throw in there, but it just adds that musical element where you can bring like a musical tone to things, have some fun in that capacity. It could be cool to explore. So Six String, that's my inanimate object idea, just this guitar that hurts people. After that, we go over to my demons talk. Now, I might be influenced by this one a little bit because I just watched this movie called The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which is one of my favorite movies to come out this year. But my idea for the for the demon one, I'm literally just calling it the devil in disguise. Not a lot of substance to that, I know. But this is the idea I had. And again, I was influenced by The Eyes of Tammy Faye. A televangelist, see already, you know, just starts to spread this new type of gospel. And this gospel is literally from the words of Satan himself. Like, my demon is literally Lucifer reincarnate in a sense, coming back to plague humanity. And basically, the words that they say on the television just start to affect the people in this new way. If you wanted, and I didn't think of this at the time I was writing my notes for this, but if you wanted, You could even change the televangelist thing. You could change it to make it more modern. That it's like a, Tucker Carlson, a Joe Rogan-esque, person who can influence a large audience into doing a certain thing. That might work better, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Like the televangelist thing, it's not the 80s. If it was the 80s, that might work. But now it's just like these, and I don't want to say right-winged, but there's these certain political parties that listen to this person. That person is their gospel. That person just gives them something to believe in. If we were to make that person literally Satan, and Satan now is literally putting the words of like destruction and revelations into your ear and just like, hey, go cause mayhem, go destroy the world, bring about this disgusting thing. Look at what these left-wing son of a bitches are doing to the world. Destroy it. They're ruining things. It's too woke. It's too shitty. Like, look at what they've done. Everything's a snowflakey, weak little bitch. Let's burn it to the ground. Let's actually cause anarchy and show you a Handmaid's Tale future. I am literally Satan telling you to do this. I think that could be fun. You could disguise it as like a news anchor or like a pundit on a news show or a podcast host. Just this person who can influence an audience, and that audience can influence another audience, and it just spirals out of control into this thing of hate and destruction. Because he's the devil in disguise. I think it's fun. It's one, I would never want to make this movie because you'd probably get shit on a lot, but it could be a fun thing to explore. Could be fun. So, just like my Mothman pitch, when it comes to my ghost pitch, it's a little outside the box. And what I mean by that is, just like I was influenced by the eyes of Tammy Faye, there is currently this comic book going on in Image Comics called The Me You Love in the Dark. And basically, I wanted to mix that idea in with the idea of the Phantom of the Opera. Because I am nothing if not a fan of over-dramatized theater lunatics. This is called Faded Shadows, and basically it's like this soul is possessed to a theater. It's trapped there. It can no longer leave this theater, and it just feels the intensity of the performers on stage and all these people coming about it, and it slowly starts to fall in love with this woman who is a recent addition to the latest musical or story that is being portrayed on stage. She starts to have this understanding of what this creature is. Like, there is a presence here. I can't see it, but I can feel it, and it just adds to that romantic nation. Again, there is a line that in horror and romance that can be fun. Like, gothic horror is a genre unto itself, and it's a genre I'm a fan of. I think playing with those dark themes and the horror genre really benefit like the love-scorned romantic notions of some people, where there's just like a fine line between I love you to death or I will kill you so much, I'm so passionate about this thing. And we can have like, a thing that horror loves, and that's of course theater, Phantom of the Opera, all that stuff. People like that. Horror fanatos like that stuff, and have a ghost in there. You could play up, the ghost movie too, of the pottery scene if you wanted, but it's a little bit weird. You could even have the apparition be seen by this woman and add to that romance a little bit more. But I just like the idea of like, let's have a tragic romance in our horror. We could have this ghost trying to like maybe possess some of the other performers to become intimate with this woman. Add to that insanity, just have a little bit more weird stuff being played up in that aspect. It could be fun. I just liked that idea. I thought I'd throw it out there. So when it comes to my monster movie idea, this one I think was the hardest because I wanted to go big, scary monster, and I wanted to go, well, Mothman's kind of a monster already, right? And so are the Rock Sliders. So what's a different type of monster than what we've seen before? And then it hit me. Holiday-themed monster. So my monster movie is called On a Cold Winter's Night. And basically, this is an I don't even want to say it. This is probably the most schlucky of all of the ones I came up with. This is like an evil snowman slash, Jack Frost type character. I wanted to go with snowman just because it's like a living icicle thing that can turn its body into a snowflake or to an icicle or into liquid. Just everything related to like snow and ice and that stuff. Basically, this evil snowman just starts terrorizing a town. It's just like it kills a kid, People start to worry. It kills another kid. People are worried, like, what is killing this thing? There's no evidence of any weapon or blood in these, like, people, in these kids. Like, what is happening to them? And it's just like, there's just a pile of water left beneath the kids. So it's like, were they stabbed with an icicle? Were these kids, like, had their throat slit with an icicle? And it just melted away? Yeah. You can make this a really dark, twisted Frosty the Snowman. I don't know if that character is in public domain, but you could play with that too. Maybe somebody puts a magic hat on top of a snowman and it becomes a murderous killing machine. And basically, I'm just like, imagine the intensity. You're in the middle of a blizzard. You can't see anything. And this snowman just slowly trudges towards you. It's just shooting icicles. It is just made of this intensity that how do you punch snow? You know, you could get buried alive in it before you could even put a dent in that thing. And there's something very, very scary about that. That's just terrifying and mutative and just gross and grotesque. You know, there's a lot of like horror, or I shouldn't even say horror, like crime shows that take place in the wintertime. Because you could get buried by all that snow. But what if the snow was the killer? Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, you know, it's silly, it's dumb, but it's a thing that could happen. On a cold winter's night, the snow kills you. Now, before we get to my final pitch for you, I do have one last topic. That's aliens. I didn't know what to do. I don't have an alien story, really. So, it's called Dark Skies. Basically, the premise for Dark Skies is an alien spaceship or something wipes out all technology on Earth. Everything is rendered just useless. It's just a total blackout on the world. And we are fighting to survive through this onslaught of apocalypse of these alien creatures. There's not much to it after that. I don't know what to do with an alien. I have stories for science fiction. I don't have a story for an alien invasion. You know, there's so many of them, so what would you do differently? So I'm like, yeah, let's just wipe out technology, put us back in the dark ages, and we're struggling to survive with what little technology we have and what we can't see. Kind of cool? Not really, but hey, aliens are important, and it brings us to 10 movies. So, how many other podcasts will pitch you 10 movies in one fucking episode, man? How many? Tell me in the comments or in an email. Tell me how many other podcasts will pitch 10 movies to you. And Hollywood, listen. Listen to these titles, man. They're kind of cool. So, drumroll please. So, drumroll please. I don't know if that'll pick up in the audio or not, but we'll find out later. This is it. This is my final movie pitch to you, and this is something, it's going to be, like, compared to the rest of them, it's going to sound so boring, but this is the one that I've literally been sitting on forever. Because I'm like, I love the idea of, like, the mundane killer, and this is my idea, because it plays with the classic tropes of the genre, it plays with, like, a different time period, it just makes everything work in a way that hasn't before. So, my final pitch to you is my final slasher flick. It is titled Got Milk. Here's the pitch. Are you ready? Don't say anything because you're not ready. This is the pitch for Got Milk. We are in the 1950s suburbia, and an escaped serial killer just breaks out of some insane asylum. They are evading the police, but they don't know where to go. So what do? The first thing that this serial killer does when they escape the insane asylum? Why, of course, they kill the local milkman, and they pose as the milkman. And slowly, this innate ability and this desire to kill people comes into place. So the killer poisons the milk that is left on the doorstep. Suddenly, the milkman did it has a new meaning, you know? Your wife from the milkman, your wife was killed by the milkman. I don't know why. I just think this is a great idea. I love it. Just this idea. It's like we all deal with this man every day. He comes to our houses. We interact with him. We talk to him. He is killing us, slowly dosing our drinks to the point where we eventually die. It is a more, thriller-esque killer where it's just like, He's not actively stabbing you or shooting you. He is poisoning you like a lunatic, like a sociopath, just building up this confidence and trust to break you down emotionally and physically and just kill you in this way where you just feel comfortable around him. You don't know it's the milk that's killing you. And back in the day when everybody said drink milk or you'll die, suddenly this town is being poisoned. You know, it could be like, oh, I don't want to say like the cult where everybody drank the Kool-Aid and died. But it could be, you know, that thing where it's like you don't know the thing that is killing you is the thing you love. And I think that is something dark to play with. I love the theme of the serial killer wearing that stupid milkman outfit. This one, I don't know why. I just think like 1950s suburbia just has that aesthetic where everything is too perfect. Something needs to go wrong. And I think that would be it. You know, I think it would just be, yeah, milkman did it. It's stupid. I know it's stupid, but I just think got milk is a really, really fun idea. And something it shouldn't be funny, but I just love it. I just really love it. It's just the milkman is poisoning people. He's an escaped serial killer. It's amazing. It's just so silly and fun. You play with like the classic era, the bright colors, the matted things. Everything's got like a bright shine to it. The milkman comes to your doorstep. He poisons your milk. Suddenly little Timmy is dead in the kitchen with a bottle of milk in his hand. And Mama doesn't know what to do. And Daddy doesn't know that the milkman did it. I just love it. It's so stupid and fun. It could just be so entertaining. You just get some, like, you know, sexy dude who could be a milkman to do it. Ryan Gosling. Who knows? Just some crazy son of a gun to do it. And it would just be really fun. So that's it. We have made it to the end of the episode. Those are all 10 of my pitches for the next horror icon. And just to clarify, for each movie who the icon would be, let's break it down. For Sonar, it's the smartest dolphin in the group. For the Rock Slide, it's the Rock Sliders. For the Million Year Kill, it'd be the smartest Neanderthal you ever seen. For Scarlet Eyes, it would be the Mothman. For Six String, it would be a possessed guitar. For the Devil in Disguise, well, it's Joe Rogan, Satan himself. For Faded Shadows, it is a ghost in a musical theater who is just obsessed with people. For a cold winter's night, it's your favorite local snowman. For Dark Skies, it's just an alien. And for Got Milk, it is the Milkman. Telling me these wouldn't be cool? Tell me, these are all awesome. You love them. I love them. They're great. They're fun. They're cool. They're different. They are horror icons. They are horror franchises that can span out into a bunch of different stuff. They are just fun to play with, fun to explore, and I just love it. I just love being invested in horror again. And just pitching stuff gets me excited. So again, Hollywood, if you like these, come to me. Just come to me and we'll make something work. I can make sure you got milk. I can give you Sonar. I can give you all of them. You're the best, so thank you for that. And as always, we do like to end things with a couple of recommendations for you guys. And I don't really know what I'm going to recommend this time around. You know, there's just so much good stuff. I would say, if I were to recommend anything to you, it's History of the World Part 1. It's a really good movie. It's really strong. Doom Patrol's a great watch for a modern Brenden Fraser performance. When it comes to some of these other stuff, The Me You Love in the Dark is a really fun read. I think that's cool. Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It's all great stuff, and I recommend checking it out. So that is going to do it for this episode of the GeekWave. Thank you guys so much for listening to all 50 episodes of this show. I do not think all 50 episodes are on iTunes or on the podcast feed, but if you are over there by chance, please give us a rating because it definitely helps out the show. And if you have any topics or suggestions you'd like to hear me talk about, leave them in the comments or put them in the email. I will see what they are and I'll find a way to slot them in. As always, you guys can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, and I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.